Hello and welcome to the Fishing Guide Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Wiegmann, and we are here with two very professional anglers, and they said they wanted to talk about tips for crappie fishing. I said, man, let's talk about them. And so Les Smith is here, and also John Harrison is here from Louisiana, of course. And we're going to start. We're going to start out right away. We'll start with you, John. If you're fishing in Louisiana, the number one tip to catch the biggest crappie you can in Louisiana, what would it be?
Oh, Lord.
Lures?
Crappie magnets. Crappie magnets.
Okay.
Definitely.
What size? Is it the size of the bait? Is that how?
No, it's just it's the profile of the bait. I love a crappie magnet. That's about all I fish. Be honest with you, and I try to, I let the fish dictate what they're going to bite. I use anywhere from a 1/4 ounce head down to a 32nd ounce, and I'm going to throw as big as I can get away with. Okay. In summertime, they're chasing shad. They're a lot more aggressive. I may throw something a little bit bigger, but it gets a little bit colder weather and they get more lethargic. I may downsize a lot, but I always have a 1/4 down to a 32nd tied on in the boat. So
okay. Unless your tip for catching that big crappie, what would it be?
Yeah, I'm just like John. Crappie magnets pretty much all I use, so I don't use any minnows. And sometimes people just don't quite get that when you say, "What's a minnow?" But I just don't use them. Crappie magnet makes a selection of baits, everything from fin spins to slap curlies to Pro Series to crappie magnets to
slab magnets.
Slab magnets.
So you're trying to get a big bait, get that big fish, or
I run fast even in the spring, and so it doesn't. I don't run slow. So everything I do is just big, fast, adrenaline rush, and go, and cover a lot of water even in the spring. So I'm pushing
running
those.
What 1.7, 1.8.
I mean, it's when I'm sitting there watching these minnow fishermen, and I'm just running. I'll run around them 10 or 15 times, and. It's just their style of fishing, but it's not mine. These baits here will do it.
Yeah, that's that Pro Series spin right there with a slab curly on it. And I mean, you look at the length of that bait.
Right.
That's a big bait.
Yeah.
And we're running that at 1.7 mile an hour. I mean, that's moving. Right. So they either got to eat or to get out of the way.
So give us a tip. You go out there and there's those days where you just can't catch a keeper. You sit there and I've caught 5, 6, 7, 8 fish, but none of them are keepers. How do you change up? How do you go from catching ones that are not keepers to catching ones that are keepers?
You want to run with that? Oh, doesn't matter. A lot of times we'll change depths. We'll change colors, speed. I mean, we're going to try multiple different options there before, we quit. We're not going to give up. So a lot of times just the speed of you're running your bait will make a big difference. Or color. We change colors on the fly all the time. Change baits all the time. And if they start hitting one color better than another one, we'll start going in that direction, start putting more of those on.
Yeah, less colors.
Yeah, absolutely. Fish tell you what they want. I mean, and it even comes down to the color of the fin span head, just the head itself,
just the head.
Not just a skirt. And I would bet you if you looked at my baits 90% of the time this spring on Sardis, which is my favorite spring lake, I had a pink head on. You could mix it up with a black orange. You could mix it up with it doesn't matter as long as it's a pink head. So go figure. I don't know. I could set and put orange on. I could put shard on, whatever it may be.
But if we're not catching fish, we're changing something.
Yeah.
And
what's your tip if it's raining hard? It's raining hard. You're out there fishing. What are you gonna do? You gonna go to one pole in or what?
Put on a slicker suit and keep right on rolling.
We'll go to the house and get an easy chair. No.
I don't think Les would leave the lake unless you drag him off.
No.
Is there something that happens to crappie when it starts raining? Do they act different? Do they get looser to the cover?
Right before a front, I've seen them go absolutely crazy. If you have a front coming in and you know it's coming, I've seen those fish the bite just go crazy.
Well, your weather conditions have changed a lot. Like this morning, those fish were on the bottom. There wasn't a lot of fish in there. You didn't see many fish. You'd see one here and one there. And about 8:30, 9 o'clock, they were just everywhere. They came up off that bottom, and they were just everywhere once that sun got high. So, sometimes the sun helps you. Sometimes the sun will push them down to the bottom. It's just you never really know. Just depends on the fish.
Length of rods. If some people were going to buy some rods, we'll let you do the longer trolling ones. But if you were casting, single pulling, what are you going to use?
B&M, no doubt. I was throwing the sharpshooter 6 this morning.
Okay.
But I got Mayo's. John Mayo had a Sam Super Salt light, 7.5-foot rod. And I used it for, 30, 45 minutes. I got one coming after that this morning.
And why is that? On a spinning reel?
On a spinning reel, it's got a lot of backbone to it. So you get some of these bigger crappie on, it's got enough backbone to horse them on in.
And we are talking about big Mississippi.
Yeah, we're talking about
crappie,
Mississippi
so
crappie. We're not.
We're talking about
get them 2 pound fish. So yeah.
All right. And if they're power trolling, what's their setup? What do they need to buy?
Longer the better. B&M power trollers were designed for power trolling. If a person's going to step down in what I call a little bit of a post, kind of what you got is a spring spawn, so you can use a little bit lighter poles. So you can use the PSTs, which I like. I like the 18-foot PSTs for springtime fishing. And all I'm doing at that particular point is pushing 2/4 ounce jig heads with curly tails through that shallow water, about 2 foot apart. That's it. And then I step up to the power trollers when the fish move out. I pick up speed. And
what length? What length?
18 foot.
Well, those power trollers now, let's understand, those power trollers were designed to run that heavy weight. Les runs a 3-ounce weight. I know that sounds, first time I heard it, I was like, there's no way. Right. And he made a believer out of me on day one. We call them cannonballs. They're huge. And that rod is designed to handle that weight and those fish hitting it as hard as they do. Because you got to understand now, we're running 1.7. That thing's flying, and the 2 pound crappie hits it, and we're 8 and 10 foot of water. You don't have that much line out.
Right.
You better have a pole, because them things will bend them straight under the boat.
Right.
And those are big old heavy rods.
Oh, big heavy rods. And the thing about it, when you're power trolling, sometimes it'll be 3, 4, 5 poles in a boat at the same time. So it's a little chaotic, but it's we kind of call it controlled chaos. But it's fast and furious. Just put her in the wind.
Give us a tip for fishing on days when it's super windy. It's rolling, and you're out there crappie fishing, and let's just pick a lake. Let's pick.
It's hard on any lake
say.
When you get a high wind crappie fishing. It's tough on any lake. But just say it's a tournament day, you don't have any choice.
Right.
We got to fish. So if you look at it from the tournament aspect, we're already planning for that. Going into the tournament, we're looking at weather ahead of time, and if we see something going to blow a certain direction, we're trying to find fish for that wind direction, just in case it gets too bad. But just put your head down and grind. That's all you can do in the wind. You can't give up and go to the house. You got to just put your head down and grind. They'll still bite in the wind. They get a lot more spooky. I can tell you that, because your boat slap. We try to go with the wind instead of against it, where you don't have that water slapping the bottom of your boat so bad. If we can, that's where all your brakes and your paddles and all that come into play.
Okay.
Yeah, trolling, which, there's a difference between live scoping and trolling. And a lot of times the live scopers are going into the wind. Trolling, I never go into the wind unless I have to, maybe to run back up a run that I just made and turn around and come back down it. Right. Try to get the wind at your back, put your power poles down, and drip paddles. And try to slow yourself down to whatever speed you want to go. But as long as you're running with the wind, you're going to do way better than you would running into the wind trolling.
Because you have more control.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's just not, you don't have all that slap in action on the front of that boat. It'll make a big difference. I've gone into the wind. It's just totally shuts you down till you get back to your starting point, want to turn around, and you tell somebody, now watch this, and you turn around, levels out, and the poles just go to popping down through there. So trolling, go with the wind.
Yeah. So that's the difference. We got a troller on the outside here. We had to put him on the outside because he's so fast. We had to put him there in case he went to the. And then we got one polar, more of the electronics thing here. So give them a tip for using your electronics while you're one poling. One thing that you do when you set your units up, are you changing your depth
it's going to depend. We had that conversation this morning. It's going to depend on the body of water you're in, how you set it. You're allowed to be fishing, have your screen clear and looks good, and run 5 miles up the lake in totally different water. It's going to look different. You're going to change it. You gain especially. That's where you're going to fool your game more than you are anything else. Color palette. A lot of times, the fat water is really dingy, or you're not getting that clear picture, and you try to back your gain down, it's still not. You can change color palettes a lot of time. That's what we did this morning. We just changed color palettes, and we had a crystal clear screen.
All right. And you're
as far as using a live scope, the only thing I'm using it for trolling is to basically identify if there's fish in that particular area. That's the first thing. Live scopers are going to do the same thing. Secondly, is determine where the fish are in the water column. So it helps me adjust my baits when I'm trolling. So once I get to the speed that I'm going, I just look on the graph. I see that fish are in 8-10-foot water column. I'm going to drop those baits down. I'm going to see it on the graph. I can adjust each one of my baits. And sooner or later, fish are going to tell you if you're in the right column or not, but it helps you get there quicker by using a live scope.
If it means anything, there's always this controversy about live scope. Forward-facing sonar, you have people that love it and people that hate it. And this is the first year I've seen him use it. But I've fished over here many times, and we have nothing but mapping on the boat, and we catch boatloads. So that's just a testimony. You don't have to have it to catch fish like everybody thinks you do nowadays. It's one of those deals you got to have now. You still catch fish without it.
Right.
I'm glad you said that, John, because if somebody gave me a choice today, Les, you can only have one unit on the front of your boat, it'd be the mapping. And Humminbird, the Lake Master chip, all I do is run contours. If you took that map away from me, I'd be lost. And I see a lot of people don't run anything but a Garmin live scope, and I'm thinking, okay, how do you find a ledge?
Do you use shading? Do you use the shading on the maps?
Yeah. We'll go in and if I'm catching fish in a certain highlighted in a certain depth, I will highlight that water. We did that yesterday, and so that I know I'm running right on the outside edge of that. And but yeah, man, that mapping means the world to me. As a troller.
How many graphs do you have on your boat, John?
I just sold my boat. I'm actually
How many did you have?
My boat's supposed to be here. Supposed to have been here last week, my new boat. But I'm running 4. I run a Garmin, a 126 at the console, and a 12-inch Helix at the console. And I'm running the 8616 and the 8612 Garmin up front.
All right. And
I run an 8612 a live scope on the front, Garmin, and I run the 13-inch Apex from mapping on the front. I have a Lowrance and a Humminbird at the column.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about something that people think all the time. Should I use braided line, monofilament, or fluorocarbon? So we'll let you start first again.
Well,
John, tell them what
most live scopers, they're going to fish that braided line. They love braided line. I fish fluorocarbon. I've bass fished for years. I come from a bass fishing background. You're not going to get me off fluorocarbon. I just love fluorocarbon. Now I use a higher pound depending on where we're at. If I'm in timber or up here in Mississippi on these bigger fish, I'm going to use, 14 pound, 15 pound.
Really?
Yes. But most of the time I'm going to have 10 or 12. On the average, you use 10 to 12.
And what are you using on your poles?
On my main line, I run it's a high vis orange glow. I just want to be able to see it out there. It's about a 15 pound test line. I was using Strand. Strand don't make it anymore. Now I'm using Momoa on my main line, but all my leaders are I'm using 8-pound Gamma, and it's a fluorocarbon. Yeah,
fluorocarbon. Yep. Yeah. Are you using any leaders?
Yeah.
Are you using the same line? You're using different line for your leaders, right?
I use the clear Gamma,
Okay.
8 pound for all of my leader line setup, and I have the orange high vis glow on my main line where my weight is attached.
Spinning reels or bait casters?
Spinning reels,
All of them?
all B&M.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how about you? Using spinning
on my
and
long
bait
poles, on my long poles, I'm using a bait caster.
Uh-huh.
Now on all my casting rods, I'm using B&M spinning reels.
Okay. Yep. All right. Well, if you had to give them, this is your last shot. If you had to give them a tip, in general, to catch crappie, what would you do? As a single polar.
Brush piles, trees, stumps, stump fields. You don't have to have live scope. Just get out and go fishing.
Okay.
Live scope's taught us a lot. There's fish all over the lake. I mean, it's not like they're in one location. They may be more concentrated in one location than the other, but you can catch fish all over that lake.
Right.
If you put out some brush piles, you can catch crappie. It's that simple.
Right.
But one tip, I don't know, just go. Go
Just go.
fishing. Go fishing. Don't sit at the house.
Les, if you had to give them a tip on trolling, what would you say?
Throw the minnow bucket away.
Okay.
Go to Crappie Magnet's website.
Okay.
Find you the baits for that time of the year.
He's
Put them
right
on. Put her in the wind. Go catch crappie.
There you go. There you have it. That takes us up to Tackle Time. Tackle Time sponsored by PICO Lures. They have a complete line of hard and soft baits, so you can check them out at picolures.com. What can I say? You guys I think you've covered everything, but I think we'll just end it.
Go fishing.
There you go. Go fishing. So, like I always like to end the show, make sure you keep your hook sharp and your lures in the water.